Master's inner ashram, there is no need for this theory of reticence. You are co-disciples and co-workers. If any of you have in the past or may in the future become initiates, it will not affect your relation to your fellow disciples in these groups. The knowledges of initiation cannot be passed on by word of mouth within the initiate ranks, for they are not communicated in speech or by letters. Only those who possess certain transcendental senses can take initiation, and should they try to communicate the secrets and mysteries of initiation in symbol or form, you would fail to react to or to understand their meaning. So, in this group of my disciples, let there be the recognition of unity of thought. Experience, thought, difficulties and problems can be shared, and the cultivation of a sympathetic understanding, and of mutual aid in the spiritual life can be developed. Disciples are people of mature years from the standpoint of the soul, and, therefore, the pettinesses of life and small frictional difficulties will not be shared by you with each other. There should be no temptation to waste each other's time in idle talk. It is the broad and general outline of the plan for the outer work of these groups of disciples, which should engage your thoughts and communications with each other. The group's plan will be of many different kinds, and their work will be diversified and varied. I have for some time desired to write a little more fully about the groups which are forming in the world today, under direction of the Masters. They will gradually make their appearance in the world, and fulfill their destined mission. 4 of these groups are already formed, or in process of forming, and the others will gradually be created to meet advancing need. It is essential that members of these groups have a wider vision than they now have. Their membership in any of the groups constitutes an act of service, which they are rendering to the work, which I and other members of the hierarchy are carrying forward under the plan. The individual disciple must not look upon his work as a marvelous opportunity for his own spiritual advancement. All true disciples are equally distinguished by a determination to make the group successful, and all are longing to get as much out of the group work as possible. All are genuinely animated by a desire to serve, but also by a general satisfaction over the interest and opportunity offered by the group work. Along with these most normal and right reactions are to be found much ignorance as to the true significance of the work, a good deal of selfish pleasure and some ambition. This is natural, for no perfection is yet to be expected among disciples. If perfection existed, you would all be found working in a different relation to the Great White Lodge. In order to clarify this group work which the hierarchy plans and enable you to grasp the intent clearly, I will tell you something of the purpose which lies behind the groups and of the general plan into which it is desired that they fit. In the early stages of any hierarchical experiment, much difficulty is encountered, owing to the material with which the initiating agents, such as myself, have to work. Any new idea, especially if it embodies a purpose which can only materialize later when the plan is further perfected, fails naturally to meet with full comprehension in the early stages. I have said that these groups constitute an experiment. This experiment is fourfold in nature, and a concise statement about it may prove helpful. They are an experiment in founding, or starting focal points of energy in the human family through which certain energies can flow into the entire race of men. They are an experiment in inaugurating certain new techniques in work, and in modes of communication. I would point out that in these last 3 words are summed up the whole story. These groups are intended to facilitate interrelation or communication as follows. 1. There is a group of what we might call telepathic communicators. These people are receptive to impression from the Masters and from each other. They are the custodians of group purpose and, therefore, closely related to all the other types of groups. Their work is largely on the mental plane and they work in and with thought matter, and with the reception and direction of thought currents. They are also working at the facilitation of communication between individuals so that the rules and methods whereby speech can be transcended may become known and the new way of intercourse be brought about. Communication will eventually be a soul to soul on the higher levels of the mental plane. This involves complete alignment, so that soul mind brain are completely at one. Be mind to mind on the lower levels of the mental plane. This involves the complete integration of the personality or lower self, so that mind and brain are at one. Disciples must remember these two distinctive contacts, and bear in mind also that the greater contact need not necessarily include the lesser. Telepathic communication between the different aspects of the human being is entirely possible at varying stages of unfoldment. 2. Another group is that of the trained observers. Their objective is to see clearly through all events, through space and time by means of the cultivation and use of the intuition. They work very largely on the astral plane at the dissipation of glamour, thus bringing in illumination to mankind. Thus another type of energy is brought into play, producing another type of interrelation and communication. This communication is between the plane which is the plane of illumination, and pure reason, the Buddhic plane, and the plane of illusion, and glamour, which is the astral plane. The trained observers are asked to remember that their great task is to dispel the world illusion through the pouring in of light. When there are a sufficient number of groups working along these lines, there will be found upon the physical plane certain channels of communication which will act as the mediators between the world of light and the world of illusion. They will be transmitters of that form of energy which will break up the existing glamours and illusions, and so dissipate the ancient deceptive thought forms. They will release the light and peace which will illumine the astral plane, and dispel the illusory nature of its life. 3. The third group is that of the magnetic healers. These healers have no relation to the work of the so-called magnetic healers of today. They work intelligently with the vital forces of the etheric body. Much of their work is dealt with in the 4th volume of A Treatise on the Seven Rays. This group of healers must bring about the right healing of the personalities of individuals in all aspects of their nature. The work to be done is that of the intelligent transmission of energy to various parts of the nature, mental, emotional and physical, through the right organization and circulation of force. Present-day healers should endeavor to break loose from the modern and traditional ideas as to healing. They should recognize the stupendous fact that healing must eventually be carried forward by groups which will act as the intermediaries between the plane of spiritual energy, either soul energy, intuitional energy or will energy, and the patient or group of patients. Note this last point. The group idea must always be remembered by the students as they work. They must not work as individuals, but as units in a coherent whole. This will distinguish the New Age methods from the past, for the work will be group work and, usually, for a group. Magnetic healers must learn to work as souls, and not as individuals. They must learn to communicate healing energy from the reservoir of living force to the patient, or patients. 4. The educators of the New Age will come next. Their service is along the line of culture, and they will work to bring in the new type of education. Their emphasis will be upon the building of the anticana, and upon the use of the mind in meditation. Again, much of this new educational science will be given in the 5th volume of the series. They will act as communicators and transmitters of two aspects of divine energy, knowledge and wisdom. These must be thought of in terms of energy. This 4th group, whose work is concerned with the education of the masses, is a direct intermediary between the higher mind and the lower mind. They are concerned with the building of the anticana, and their task is that of linking the 3 points of mental focus, the higher mind, the soul and the lower mind, so that there may be established a group and a channel between the kingdom of souls and the world of men. 5. The 5th group will be that of the political organizers, and will concern itself with political factors in every nation. They will work in the world of human government, dealing with the problems of civilization and with the relationships existing between nations. The bringing about of international understanding will be their major objective. This group communicates the quality of imposition and an authority that is lacking in the other branches of this divine group activity. This work is largely first-ray work. It will embody the method whereby the divine will works out in the consciousness of races and nations. Members of this group will have much first-ray energy in their equipment. Their work is to act as channels of communication between the department of the Manu and the race of men. It is a noble task, my brothers, to be channels for the will of God. 6. The workers in the field of religion form this group. Their work is to formulate the universal platform of the New World religion. It is a work of loving synthesis, and it will emphasize the unity and the fellowship of the Spirit. This group is, in a pronounced sense, a channel for the activity of the second ray of love wisdom, that of the world teacher and office held at present by the Christ. The platform of the New World religion will be built by the many groups, working under the inspiration of the Christ and the influence of the second ray, and these in their totality will constitute the 6th group. 7. The 7th group is that of the scientific servers. They will reveal the essential spirituality of all scientific work, which is motivated by love of humanity and its welfare, which relates science and religion and brings to light the glory of God through the medium of His tangible world and His works. They have a most interesting function, but one which will not become evident for a long time, not until the building forces of the universe are better understood. This will be coincident with the development of etheric vision. This group will act as a channel of communication, or intermediary between the energies which constitute the forces which construct the forms, and fabricate the outer garment of deity, and the human spirits. You will note here, consequently, the possibility that this group's main initial work will be concerned with the problem of reincarnation. That problem deals with the taking of an outer garment, or form under the law of rebirth. 8. The psychologists will form this next group, and they will be concerned with the revelation of the fact of the soul and with the new psychology which will be based upon the 7 ray types, and the new esoteric astrology. Their major task will be to relate, through approved techniques, the soul and the personality, leading to the revelation of divinity through the medium of humanity. They will act also as transmitters of illumination between groups of thinkers and as illuminators of group thought. They transmit energy from one thought center to another, and, above everything else, they transmit the energy of ideas. The world of ideas is a world of dynamic force centers. Let this not be forgotten. These ideas have to be contacted and noted, and their energy has to be assimilated and transmitted. 9. This 9th group will be composed of financiers and economists. They will